I'm glad to see everyone. Let's begin our conversation.
Let's begin with the basics. Our topic is love and strictness in relationships, and the question is, how can we know if there is real love in the heart?
First, we need to understand that what we usually feel in the heart is not love, but lust, because we are in the material world. In this world, people don't have true love in their hearts. True love exists only in pure souls. A pure soul either lives in the spiritual world or is a holy person living in the material world. They have a pure way of seeing the world, that's why they are pure. They love everyone around. To love means to serve others, to give your life to them. But the energy of love is present in everyone, because we all have this inner need. When we are born, we want to live, to breathe. By breathing, we receive energy that helps us act. We want to learn, and our mind starts working. Even trees want to learn. They don't grow in just any direction. They grow towards the place where there is more happiness. So when they grow on a slope, their branches go only towards the sun, where there is more light and warmth. In the same way, humans also have love, or rather the energy of love, because we are eternal souls. But to have the energy of love and to truly love, these are two different things. To love means to use this energy in the right way, but in the material world, souls use it wrongly, and this turns into lust. How do you know if you feel lust? You enjoy the person, you go crazy about them, you feel obsessed. It feels like love. You're excited. You feel great. You think, I'll be so happy with this person. You enjoy the feeling, the experience. We call this love. Yes, there is love energy involved, but you're using it the wrong way. Using it properly means serving the person, accepting their flaws, caring for them, being loyal. That is real love. Loyalty is very important in love. Service, forgiveness, acceptance, all these are essential. Sincerity. These are the signs that you are using love energy correctly. Of course, most people use it incorrectly, but we must aim to use it in the right way. Since we are in the material world, love is a part of life. We need to organize our lives so that we can pass the test of love. How does love work in this world? We want to enjoy it. And if someone gives us harmony, we expect pleasure from them. If they don't meet our expectations, we start to suffer. This topic has many details. When we talk about family life, how to choose a life partner, the real question is how to understand with whom not to build a family. In such cases, many things must be considered, especially how harmoniously the energy of love flows between you. This is called compatibility, whether the person matches your level of development. They might not understand at all where you are going in life. Love can't be like, I get into the boat and sail away, and they stay on the shore. People should sail together in the same boat. They should move forward together, choose a goal, and work toward it. If people have different views on life and go in different directions, how can they love? It becomes very difficult. In such a case, it's hard to build deep, serious relationships. There should be some balance between enjoyment and service. True love doesn't demand balance. A person simply serves, and everything else comes naturally from God. The soul that serves God doesn't need to worry about getting love in return, but in the material world, the soul must be careful. It should watch the person it's building a relationship with to make sure they don't become selfish, because everyone tries to exploit love, taking more for themselves and giving less to others. There's a struggle for love. Everyone pulls the blanket toward themselves. That's why we need to be aware of it and make kind agreements with each other. In relationships, there should be certain agreements. Love needs to be shared and given consciously. You both should move in the same direction. It's important for love to flow naturally and for there to be compatibility. There should be some happiness, loyalty, and trust in the relationship, and that depends on you too. If you've met a girl, but you're also chatting sweetly with 3 others on WhatsApp and still think you'll build a faithful relationship with her, that's just foolish. Some psychologists say, start dating 5 people and then choose the best one. That's complete nonsense. Love means being faithful. If you've chosen someone, then stop entertaining others. Otherwise, love won't grow. The relationship will fall apart. Love means communicating, connecting, moving together in the same direction. If you like someone, but they live their own separate life, you don't even know what they care about or what they believe in, then what kind of love can that be? You'll enjoy each other for a while, but with no common ground. 2 people under one roof, but each doing their own thing. Love suffers in such situations. Even if you're compatible on paper, if you feel like strangers and can't connect deeply, love will struggle too. Your karma should be more or less balanced. If you marry someone who has a serious illness or lives far away in a country you can't visit, that will also create problems. If I live in one place and you live in another, that also leads to challenges. There are many things that can make it hard to build a family. The question is, can you handle it? Not, is it fun? Because no matter how much pleasure you look for in this world, you'll never find perfect happiness. Everyone has relationship problems, so find that balance where the problems are bearable and take responsibility. Sometimes people look for love but don't want to take responsibility. I once talked to a man. He had 5 relationships, but with every woman he was afraid to get married. In the 5th one, the woman went crazy. She couldn't take it anymore. He came to me for advice. Before that, the others just left him. He wore them out with his endless doubts. And then we found the real reason. He always thought, what if there's someone better? But let me tell you, you will always think there might be someone better. Even if you find the best woman on this entire earth, you'll still wish for something more, because in heaven it's better, and that desire goes on forever. You have to stop at some point. If you can't settle down, there won't be any real love. If you don't marry, the woman becomes disappointed. So, my dear friends, there are many things to think about, but the main thing is, don't expect to set yourself up perfectly in this world. One should always learn to build pure and bright relationships with God and to cooperate with people. Such cooperation exists both in family life and in business. Cooperation means you shouldn't expect too much in return. You should try to help, care, and serve. The rest is in God's hands. That's what cooperation is. Sometimes God gives, sometimes He doesn't. So you just accept what comes, however things work out, however lucky you are. But if a man keeps switching women, or a woman keeps switching men, then it all ends badly, because no one likes being treated as an option. If you don't give someone a sense of commitment or loyalty, if you're not serious and just think, I'll wait, maybe I'll find someone better, then people will just drift away. In the end, you'll find nothing. Once I was walking along the seashore looking for beautiful stones. I found one and kept walking thinking, there's probably a nicer one. Then I saw another, threw away the first, and walked on with the new one. I kept walking like that for about 3 hours. There were many beautiful stones, but I threw them all away because I was constantly comparing. In the end, I threw the last one away and went home empty-handed. That was in my youth. I don't do such foolish things anymore. This simple story shows if you're too picky, you'll end up going home without any stones. Next questions.
They ask, if there's no love in the heart, won't strictness help?
If there's no love, just crush the person completely. They'll run away, and then there will be a new love. If there's no love, finish them off and keep searching for someone else. Like the Romans who went to watch the gladiators, they had no love. They wanted blood. If someone was losing, they'd give the signal, kill him. What kind of show is it if there's no blood? Someone definitely had to be taken down. When there's no love, you take it out on the other person. They're to blame for everything. If you feel no love, then it's their fault. You blame them for everything, get angry, act moody, say all your problems are because of them, that everything bad in your life is their fault. That's what you should do if there is no love. And then new love appears, but not with that person, with someone else. Then that love ends and you go searching again. People just keep jumping from branch to branch like monkeys. There's one monkey on one branch, you meet her. Then you jump to another branch and there's another monkey. And on all your life. And when the monkey gets old, there are no monkeys left, just a lonely, old, unwanted monkey. Why? Because she jumped from branch to branch too many times. That's why love isn't helped by strictness. Love is helped by service, loyalty, sincerity, pure motives, patience, and forgiveness. That's what helps love grow. Strictness can help too, but only if all the other things are already there. Strictness is like episode 2. If you walk into the cinema halfway through and say, I don't understand what's happening, well, it's because you didn't watch the first part. It's already the second episode. If you haven't seen the beginning, why are you here? It's the same when people start a relationship with strictness. Start at the beginning, with service, loyalty, sincerity, purity, patience, and care. Show the person that they matter to you. Once you prove that, they'll start to respect and appreciate you. That's when strictness has its place. And even then, that strictness should be kind. That's the only kind that helps love grow. But if your strictness isn't kind, if you're trying to control the person, demanding happiness for yourself, forcing your desires on them, then what kind of love can there be? Nobody needs that kind of strictness. Strictness is good when it's done with kindness, when you gently set boundaries, and if someone behaves really badly, you simply step back. The best form of strictness is not confronting the person directly, but rather limiting your closeness with them. Just keeping your distance often works best. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just choosing not to develop a close bond because of their behavior. That's what real strictness is. Strictness doesn't mean unloading all your truths on someone. Strictness simply means keeping a bit of distance, that's it. And the person will realize that something is off. You say, I'm treating you kindly, but I can't accept this kind of relationship. That's strictness. It's not about putting your hands on your hips, arguing, demanding love. That's not strictness. That's just arrogance, conflict, and aggression. Real strictness always comes with kindness.
What if I only loved but never set boundaries? And now the person has taken advantage of it. How can I change things?
That's how it usually goes. It's like eating but never going to the bathroom. You'll get blocked up. How to change that now? You have to understand that all processes need to be considered. If you eat, you have to go to the toilet. All processes must be present. I loved, but I didn't guide or correct. And naturally, the person took advantage. Love isn't just being sweet. It's also about helping the person grow. Try loving your child without disciplining them. What will happen? They'll be spoiled like everyone else, any person. If everyone loves you and doesn't educate you, you'll become impudent too. That's normal. People are not perfect beings. They have natural flaws, are prone to mistakes, and tend to fall into illusion. Why do people love and not discipline? Because of attachment, the desire to enjoy the person. But if the person acts out, where's the enjoyment in that? Often women spoil children. They want to enjoy the child, to be in harmony. Let's say the child does something wrong. It's no big deal as long as they're smiling. In that case, the child starts to manipulate the mother, doing wrong things. She puts up with it because she wants to enjoy the child. She doesn't want to serve them. Service means raising the child, and that's not easy. It's the same with an adult. You only want to enjoy. You don't want to spoil the relationship. You want everything to be fine, but the person gradually starts getting insolent, and now it's not fine, but you just want a peaceful life and don't want to stress or ruin your mood. You lower yourself. The person gets more and more brazen, and you do nothing. That's called attachment. You want to enjoy life even in a place where there's no enjoyment at all. The swamp is closing in on you and your home, and there's already a stench, but you think, it's okay, it's my duty, the swamp will go away. But the swamp rises higher and higher, and now you're living in it. Your whole house is in it. Everything stinks. Everything is bad, but it's your home, and you go on living in that stench, refusing to leave. But you have to. There comes a time when you realize you just can't keep living the same way. Something has to change. That's a crucial moment. The sooner you start taking action, the better. This moment is so important because sometimes there's a point of no return. You just can't leave anymore. The swamp is all around you. If you try to get out, you'll drown. That's why it's important to start guiding a person in time. Don't drag it out until they get completely out of line, because people can become very bold. One woman told me her husband started bringing his mistress home. Imagine that level of shamelessness. The mistress would sleep in the next room, and he said, "If you protest, I'll hit you." That's what life had become. She dragged things out for too long, and now it's over. Naturally, she asks, "How can I save my family?" But what family? There's nothing left. You need to escape this situation. How can you save something that no longer exists? You've turned the man into a monster. He's not going to live with you anymore. He's wronged you so much that he's lost all respect for you. Now he just uses you for his own benefit. It's completely wrong. How can you keep a family with someone like that? It's over. The train has left the station. You just need to keep your distance. And then she says, "If I say anything to him, he threatens to kill me." You let things spiral out of control. Some situations get really bad. A woman came to me for a consultation and said, "I'm in a very difficult life situation. I work for the government." And my boss said, "If you leave, first, you won't find a job anywhere. And second, I'll make sure you're blacklisted and even thrown in jail." And he works in the government. He has the connections to carry out those threats. She doesn't know what to do. It's like she's in slavery. He exploits her, makes her work constantly, pays her a tiny salary. The person's basically enslaved. And this doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you walk into a job and instantly become a slave. It's a gradual process. At first, you allow the person to treat you however they want. That's called attachment. She was too attached to her government job, and this is where it led. Now she has to untangle the whole situation, act very carefully so nothing bad happens. It's already a complex mess. What should she do? How do you act so that nothing terrible happens? It's not easy to get out of a situation like that. Definitely, you need to educate a person. You need to watch yourself. If you fall too deeply in love, develop too much attachment, it becomes dangerous. The person next to you starts to deteriorate, and you don't even notice it happening. That's why overly intense love or infatuation rarely ends well. The other person just gets too bold, takes advantage. You become emotionally dependent, can't imagine life without them. You rely on them far too much mentally. And yet, this is exactly what people crave. That kind of love where you go absolutely crazy over someone. And what's the result? Always a sad one. The person gets out of control. Or if you're constantly jumping through hoops for them, trying to please them all the time, they stop loving you. They stop valuing you because you've lost yourself in the relationship. A person who's humiliated isn't attractive to anyone. If you lose your sense of self in a relationship, how can anyone love you? You stop being a whole person. Relationships and love are always a test. They're a path to inner change. Once a relationship begins, it's time to learn how to live, learn how to grow, learn how to go through trials. Otherwise, nothing good will come of it. That's how relationships are built. You have to learn to tolerate each other. Watch the person. If something starts to go wrong and you just endure it and let them take advantage of you, things will only get worse. It never gets better on its own. You have to stay alert and monitor everything yourself. The word love comes last in a relationship. First, there's attachment, attraction. You simply like the person. A man once told me during a consultation, "She argues with me more than anyone else." I've had other women, but none of them humiliated me like this. She humiliates me the most, but she's also the most beautiful. So I endure it because I like her. She humiliates you more than anyone else precisely because you like her, and you put up with it. If you had found a way to manage this energy of love, to take control of the situation, maybe she wouldn't humiliate you so much. Maybe she wouldn't fight with you. You always have to keep an eye on a person, and even when everything feels too good, that's also a warning sign. Because you stop paying attention, you just hope for the best, and things turn out the usual way. Next question.
In your lectures, you say that when someone close to us behaves irresponsibly, we should set conditions for them. And whether the relationship continues depends on whether they accept and follow those conditions. How can we maintain inner strength and not lose faith in overcoming fate? What if we've done everything we can and now things seem out of our control, and it feels impossible to change the outcome?
That happens. Everyone must decide for themselves who they live with and how. Of course, we shouldn't break up families, but sometimes there are extreme situations where living together is simply impossible. There are different types of irresponsibility. For example, someone refuses to work. You've tried everything, living apart, setting boundaries. You tell them, "I won't support you, find your own food." But they don't care. They can live like beggars. There was a case like this. The man wouldn't work. The woman did everything. She set conditions, but his mother kept giving him money. His mother fed him. He didn't want to do anything. The woman begged the mother not to support him, but the mother didn't listen. She was ruining the family. The mother became an unstoppable force. He wouldn't work because she kept giving him money, and he didn't need much, just enough for bread and milk. His main goal was just to lie on the couch. He didn't care about anything else. That was his mindset. What can you do? Absolutely nothing. Live separately, set boundaries. If nothing works, then separate. What else can you do if the person doesn't want to change? We cannot force someone to live. They either choose to live or not. It's their decision, their responsibility. So we must always understand some things are fate and some are not. Sometimes we can change things and sometimes we can't. There are always two sides. Like the song says, there are only two words in the world, only two words, yes and no. Life is the same, just two words, yes and no. If you've done everything, you've tried, prayed, done spiritual practices, lived separately, set boundaries, and the person still doesn't respond, then it means they don't want to live with you. So decide to live alone. Life doesn't end just because two people separate. It's not your fault. You tried, you set boundaries, you did your best to fix things. But they don't want it. That's on them. You can't force someone to live with you. You can't force them to give love in return, to serve, to care. You simply can't force that. If we take a deeper look at such situations, sometimes people say, "That's it, Dr. Torsunov, he has gangrene. They're going to amputate his leg." Or they say, "Dr. Torsunov, I have hemorrhoids down to my knees. I've got gangrene, a dislocated neck. Please help me without surgery. Heal me. No cutting, no operations. You've got gangrene. If you wait 2 more days, there'll be nothing left to amputate. You'll be in the morgue. You can't delay in situations like this. Some people wait until it's almost too late and then hope for a gentle cure, something kind and soft, no surgery, no intense treatments. My dear ones, that's just not possible. You've waited till the very end, and now the person has become completely irresponsible. You ask, what should I have done earlier? Let's take a look at that. It turns out that if you hang spiritual icons in your home, if you start praying and actively practice spirituality, then a person's conscience can awaken. Because everyone has a conscience. God lives in all our hearts. When you try to elevate a person spiritually, their conscience starts to work. They can't keep living like an animal because that inner voice, the voice of God, starts telling them, come on, wake up, go work. You can't live like this. Conscience. That's a powerful factor. You can motivate a person through their spiritual side, through their conscience. This is very important. Through prayer and spiritual practice, we try to help the person change. Sometimes the person becomes completely shameless. Why does that happen? He drinks, he threatens you, says, if you call the police, I'll kill you, and so on. And you start thinking your situation is hopeless. He'll kill me. I've got kids. I've got nowhere else to go. The police will leave, and I'll still be stuck with him. We'll be alone again. How can I go on living with this person? So I won't call the police. I'll just endure. But he becomes more and more aggressive, and the situation gets extremely dangerous. Sometimes it even ends in death, all because you don't believe in God. You think God can't protect you from this person. But God can protect you from anyone, from any person, so don't be afraid. You need to move out. You think, I've got nowhere to go, but you do. Don't worry, just move and call the police. He says, don't call? Call anyway. Because you've got no other option. You have to deal with this person. If he's beating you, abusing you, threatening worse, if you call the police, remember, it can't get any worse. You've already hit rock bottom. We have to understand this. There is a way out. There is protection in this world. God protects everyone. But if you refuse to accept that protection, if you think no one will help you, that's just foolishness, that's madness. You always have to search for a way out. Yes, life can put us in very difficult situations. Take the example of mobilization. In Russia, in Ukraine, it's still happening now. A person gets drafted into war, and then he's killed, and it's too late to do anything. But while you still have time, before you're taken, you can still think. You can still act. That's when prayer is needed. When someone prays sincerely, God gives them knowledge, shows them what to do. There are always options. I've seen it many times. Some people just sit around waiting for things to get better, and the result is tragic. Others pray and take action. Prayer is the first step. When you pray, God opens the path. And in the end, if someone close to you becomes so out of control that nothing works, then yes, that's your karma. It means you behaved like that yourself in a past life. But if you pray, you can overcome that karma. And once you do, the situation will change. Either he will start to change, or God will show you that you need to separate. He will create the right conditions for that and take care of you. Of course, there are situations where a person is starving on the street and can't find anything to eat. Or someone dies from an incurable disease, or is killed in war, or suffers violence and is powerless to stop it. But again, when you ask me to explain these kinds of extreme cases, you don't realize they didn't happen overnight. They developed gradually. That's why I say, if you feel karma approaching, if you sense that some unavoidable fate is coming, start praying right away. Then those extreme situations won't happen. When a person prays, the Bhagavad Gita says that God always protects those who turn to Him, who serve Him with devotion and surrender. Such a person is never left without protection. That's what the scriptures say. But if you say, I was left without protection, that means you're lacking spirituality. You're lacking God. So pray to God if you feel unprotected. If your situation seems hopeless, if you feel powerless in dealing with someone, pray to God. Try to resolve it through spiritual means. Because we've talked about the 3 pillars of a happy life. First, when you're constantly in a bad mood, you have no energy, you're irritable, angry, arguing, unable to focus, unable to work, always tired, always weak. This means you're low on energy. You need to read the health manual, learn how to sit in water, do static exercises, move for long periods, fast, absorb energy from nature. and then those problems will go away. The second issue is social success. You can't get married, can't find work, can't get along with your kids or your parents. Here, healing practices help to some extent. They're always the first step. The next step, when there's social weakness, is your attitude toward people and doing good deeds. You need to give donations. When you give kindness to others, when you serve and help others, when you put their interests ahead of your own, your inner purity grows. And with it, your ability to succeed socially, to get married, to build relationships. But when you've done everything, really everything, and still the situation doesn't change, that means you're lacking a relationship with God. If you're facing something dangerous, your life or your loved one's life is at risk, you don't know where to turn for help, what to do, then only prayer can help. But not just sitting and mumbling words while thinking about your problems. Real prayer must be proper and focused. That's why you need to train beforehand. We hold victory over fate retreats. We chant Hallelujah together, led by the voice of a saint. We learn to do it properly. We train and practice together. And when the time comes, when a heavy and merciless fate comes upon you, if you're trained, you'll be able to use that prayer and overcome it. Because whenever someone sincerely turns to God for help in a hopeless moment, help always comes immediately. I once went through such a time. I faced a cruel fate. I did everything, practiced, served, prayed, but nothing changed. And when I felt I had no more strength, that even my prayers weren't working, I just sat in front of my altar and said, Lord, help me. I can't do this. Do you really want everything to fall apart? And immediately that very day, things started to improve. I felt it clearly in my heart. God had decided to help. That's why it's important to know other methods that really work. Of course, the main methods are service and guidance, caring for a person and helping them grow. These are two main expressions of love. But besides that, there are many other ways too. If the person doesn't respond, then prayer is needed. If prayer doesn't help, then God may separate you. I've told this story many times. A woman tried to guide her husband and adult son in different ways, but they started drinking together and began to beat her. She kept praying, caring for them, guiding them, even distancing herself, but nothing helped. They just grew more aggressive. But she stayed connected to God, and when she finally overcame her fate, a car hit and killed them both. That was it. Because people completely lost their conscience. They were behaving like demons. Through prayer, she overcame her fate, and God simply took them away. Of course, she wasn't happy about it, but her life got better. You see, God has many ways to fix your life. Just keep doing your duty. Stay focused on what you need to do. But always remember the option that you may not stay together. It exists. But it's not up to you to make that decision. You can live separately, set boundaries. If the person still doesn't respond, then let go. That will be God's will, not yours. But if you just walk away because you don't want to stay, then you will be punished. You must give the person a chance. Do your best to make things better. This is the right approach to life, and it always brings good results. Of course, there are different kinds of situations, but as I said, they don't just appear from nowhere. You brought yourself into it. You let it get to this point. And there are different levels of severity. Sometimes things are so bad that the family can't be saved anymore. That also happens. So what can be done? If nothing works, live separately, set your terms. If those are not met, then go for divorce. That's the answer. Life brings many situations, but most of the time, you arrived at this point because you neglected things. It didn't come from nowhere. You need to analyze it so it won't happen again. What did you do wrong? Maybe you didn't pray, and the person lost their sense of right and wrong. Maybe you only took half measures and let the person go too far. Maybe a very heavy fate was at play, something beyond your control, and there was simply no way out. You did your best, but nothing worked. That also happens, and there's nothing you can do. But even if a person is under the influence of a strong and difficult fate, and he starts praying right from the beginning, he sees that after marriage things go wrong, feels that the other person doesn't want to work. A loafer just sitting at home won't even get off the couch. Start praying immediately, don't wait. If you realize that life has cracked and you ended up in the wrong place, pray right away. Don't wait until things become completely hopeless. That's it. I've raised this topic and explained it.
Elena asks, Dr. Torsunov, I've heard that we shouldn't put principles and rules above people. How does that align with being strict? How can we tell when it's true strictness? Am I doing the right thing when I place principles above the person?
My dear ones, if we look deeply into this, we all put principles above people. Because our hearts are heavy, we lack love for God and for holiness. But if holiness truly lives in our hearts, we will also feel others, their purity, and we'll never neglect them. To neglect people means to be heartless. It means the soul is not your top priority. Instead, it's your interests and desires. People often put rules and their own wants first and the person second. And when you try to fulfill your desires through someone else, you trap them in rules. You don't really care about the person. You only care about whether they follow your rules. The person is second, and your wish to use them is first. So you may think you love them, but you don't really feel or understand them. You just want something from them and put them into a box. Rules become more important than the person. As a result, they suffer and eventually think, why do I need this kind of life? And they leave. Or they try to change things, fight with you for their life, trying to survive in that situation. That's why it all depends on holiness, how connected you are to God. That purity in your heart helps you feel the purity in others, including their soul. There's even a term, heartless relationships. It means there's no soul, no heart, and the soul is awakened only through a relationship with God. So if we look deeply at whether people or rules are more important in relationships, it always comes down to our connection with God. If God comes first in your life and you serve Him, then people will also come first, because you'll be able to feel their soul. You'll have heartfelt, deep and pure relationships with others. Your motivation in relationships will be very strong. You won't be driven by your own desires, but by the desire to help others, to make them happy. That's the key point to understand. And if we start analyzing different situations, when this and when that, those are secondary, because such situations arise from the wrong motivation. Like Bulato Kujava said, if the motives were pure, everything else would follow. We need the right motivation in relationships, but most people struggle with that. When a family is formed, people think and truly believe that their motives are good and pure. But if you record one of their arguments and watch it with a psychologist, you'll see that each person is just trying to defend their own position. They're trying to present their desires as truth and insist that their version of the truth is more important than their partner's. This is what happens when people put truth above love, and the only reason truth gets placed above love is because there's no real love. What's really there is the desire to use the other person, the desire to enjoy them. And when this desire to enjoy becomes very strong, there's no room left for serving, because you're not serving God, not absorbing holiness from saints. You're not learning how to live purely, to serve selflessly, even in personal relationships. So naturally, what takes over is the desire to enjoy love. You love someone, you feel good around them, and then you start asking, do this for me. A woman who's enjoying love might say, kiss me, speak kindly, act nicely, buy me flowers, get me a gift. Don't you get it? In her view, a happy family life means speak gently to me, buy me flowers and gifts, make sure I have a nice apartment, let me feel at peace, don't disturb me, just let me enjoy. And that's how a woman explains to a man what a happy life together looks like. But a man explains it differently. A happy life together means the wife is obedient, doesn't argue. That she always takes care of things, cooks, washes, cleans, looks at me like I'm God, and doesn't look at other men at all. And then there will be happiness. Everyone defends their own truth. This means truth is placed above love, you understand? Where does this come from? Because we don't want to serve our loved ones, we want to exploit them. That's the real reason truth becomes more important than love. We start confusing cause and effect. We begin to think, life revolves around me. I'm the main one in this family. I'm a woman after all. Everyone should dance around me on their hind legs. Dr. Torsunov says in his lectures, women should be loved, spoken to tenderly. But interestingly, when I give a lecture, I talk about people's own duties, not the duties of those around them. Yet it's exactly those who are on the receiving end of these duties who write them down. And then they begin putting truth above love, but now from a place of knowledge. Since Dr. Torsunov gives knowledge, they start attacking their loved ones. As one woman told me, Dr. Torsunov, before I listened to your lectures, everything was fine in my family. I asked her, then why did your family fall apart? She said, because I gained knowledge. I started telling my husband how he should live and behave. I said, that's not what I intended. I was teaching you to fulfill your own duties, not to lecture your husband on what he should do. What he should do, he must come to understand on his own, as a result of your service. gratitude will awaken in his heart, and then he will begin to do what's needed. Oh, I didn't realize that. I've said this 100 times, but it's hard to grasp because it feels so good to know what your husband should be doing. You want to say it out loud. You think, if I just tell him, everything will fall into place. He'll do exactly what I need and life will be perfect. We confuse cause and effect. Instead of serving others and working on ourselves, we try to make others change. We flip the whole thing upside down, like in that cartoon where dogs are lying on the bed, dreaming that the human sleeps on the doormat in the hallway. People fantasize just like that, thinking life should be arranged in such a way that their loved ones obey, jump, and dance on command, that this is what happiness looks like. And so truth ends up above love because this truth isn't absolute. The real absolute truth is found in love itself. If someone knows the absolute truth, they understand through purity, service, loyalty, kindness, patience, compassion, and care, you can fix anything, make everything right. If you care for someone, you can tell them the truth, and they'll listen because they're grateful. They want to stay with you. They want to preserve the relationship. But if you think everyone owes it to you to listen, that they'll just open their ears and ask how to make you happy while you sit and dictate. Especially after a few lectures, now you know how a woman should be treated. And you go and tell your husband how to treat you, his dear beloved one. That's not how you build a relationship. In this case, there'll be no love. Truth will overshadow love. And when truth becomes more important than love, love fades, breaks down, and loses its strength. Love means service. So it's interesting, we didn't want to go to a monastery, didn't want to dedicate our lives to serving God. But we wanted to enjoy life, a woman with her husband and children, a man with his wife and children. We chose enjoyment. But it turns out it doesn't work that way. It's a clever setup. God arranged it so that not only is there monastic life, there's family life too. And He gave us this opportunity. Go ahead, enjoy. But there will be no real enjoyment unless you live the way monks do, in service, purity, and devotion. If you want to live in a family, fine, but you'll still have to do the same thing. Like in the movie, I agree. First the chairs, then the money, but the money still comes first. Same thing here, it looks like we're enjoying ourselves. We want happiness for ourselves, but it ends up the same. If you don't serve your loved one, if you don't serve God, if you put your own interest first, there won't be any happiness, just constant scandals and conflicts. That idea of, why shouldn't my loved one put my interests first? Why not start from there? Why should I be the one to start with myself? Even if your loved one does start with themselves, you still won't get it, because when people are self-absorbed, the more you do for them, the more shameless they get. So until they put some distance between you and start showing you that things can't go on like this, you might not even realize they're already doing plenty for you, more than enough. We all live in deep illusion. We are very self-centered. That's why our minds are in such a mess. And as long as we keep trying to enjoy this world and serve it, the problems won't stop. They'll only grow. The real issue is when people have the wrong mindset, they don't change their lives. So holiness, prayer, serving others, that's the real foundation of a healthy family life. The idea that knowledge destroys love is not true. True knowledge never destroys love. If it's the kind of knowledge that teaches us to serve and love others, knowledge about God, about the higher truth, the deep truth of self-sacrifice and giving yourself to people, that kind of knowledge never gets in the way of love, it only supports it. But inside us there's another kind of knowledge. It's called ignorance. Actually, in ancient scriptures, this knowledge is referred to as ignorance. What kind of knowledge do we carry inside? That others should serve me, not the other way around. And where in the world, in the universe, in nature, have you seen a closed system survive? A closed system always collapses. If you keep pulling everything toward yourself, you become a closed system, and you keep losing, because to gain there must be exchange. You smile, someone smiles back. You feel happy, so you smile again. One smile sparks many smiles. That's how spiritual energy works. But if you don't smile and just wait for others to smile at you, even when they do, you won't smile back. You're thinking, smile at me more. That's a closed system, and a closed system creates fading energy. Like when two people get married and start enjoying each other, that's a known phenomenon. They get married and stop seeing friends and family. They spend all their time together. It becomes a closed energy system. And after a while, they start arguing because they're not living the right way. When you start a family, you need to feed the people around you, feed the birds, visit friends, invite people over, care for your relatives. In a family, you should aim to serve. There should be energy exchange. And when you have kids, you also need to care for other kids. Try to have them over. Look after them too. So your own children can see you caring for others, not just for them. So they don't grow up thinking they're the center of the universe, that only they deserve to be served. That kind of life keeps you from falling into the trap of thinking that knowledge is above love. But if you don't serve and just want to enjoy life and feel good all the time, if you are the center of everything and you want everyone to serve you, that's a closed system. Energy fades. There will be no love. Love means movement. Energy must move. There is happiness when energy is inside you, and there is love. This means that it moves between two objects. If you've centered everything around yourself and live only for yourself, love will fade. That's when knowledge gets in the way of love. But that's not true knowledge. That's the idea that everyone should make me happy. And of course, that kind of knowledge kills love. So the real question is, how deeply do we carry this mindset, so deeply that we can't even imagine life without it? It starts from the beginning. We're born into this world. We need air, we need food, we need water. If we don't have these things, we'll just die. So self-survival, self-preservation, it runs very deep. The desire to provide a decent life for ourselves is rooted deep inside. You can't just get rid of it. It's like a rock in our chest. I'm talking about selflessness right now, but if you cut off my oxygen, I'll stop this talk and just try to breathe. If you don't feed me, I won't be giving lectures either. Or give me no water. When things get really bad, we all switch to survival mode. But the question is, what exactly counts as really bad? We need to learn that if we have water, food, air, thank God. And if there's at least a minimal level of comfort after that, it's time to serve. The problem is, people pour so much energy into comfort and self-preservation, there's nothing left for anything else. They have no opportunity to serve because all their energy goes into self-preservation. They're constantly busy with work, constantly fighting for their rights, constantly fighting for a place in life, and all of it turns into non-stop drama. There has to be at least some basic comfort. Then can one begin to serve? We must learn to give our lives to others, to give our lives to God. That's when the exchange begins. That's when harmony begins. I came to a holy place recently. Many devoted people live here. They've been overfeeding me. They're always trying to do something kind and helpful. I got inspired and started giving lectures and hosting retreats with them because they're so tuned in, always wanting to care for others. And I'm always grateful, even though I didn't plan to do anything here. I just wanted to rest, but in a holy place, rest isn't possible. There are too many kind, good people. They all care, they all serve, and you feel like doing something for them too. That's when a truly happy life begins. Peace settles in the heart. The soul feels rest in such an atmosphere. It's very pleasant to live in such an environment. The soul rests, the heart rests. That's how it happens. When everything is properly set up. Now let's step away from the topic of love and strictness and enter spiritual reality. It'll be amazing for us to discover it. In the spiritual reality, in the spiritual world, the Lord and living beings dwell. Two forms of life. The Lord is like a great bright sun, and living beings are his particles. They form loving relationships with each other, various kinds, and these relationships are reflected here in this world. It is said that the world we live in is a mirror, a distorted mirror of the spiritual world, distorted by our selfishness. For example, in the spiritual world, there are relationships between master and servant. If such relationships exist here, it means they exist in the spiritual world too. In the spiritual world, living beings joyfully serve God as the Lord of all, because serving the Supreme brings great happiness. Such relationships also exist there. But here, the master-servant relationship is often exploitative. Masters exploit their servants. Servants try to manipulate their masters for more. If they don't get it, they overthrow them. The teacher-student relationship is also found in the spiritual world. There it is genuine, sincere, and pure. The student sincerely serves the teacher, and the teacher serves the student. It's a mutual exchange. But in the material world, people mostly study for worldly gain, and teachers often exploit students, trying to make money off them. Students often exploit teachers, trying to get more knowledge from them, knowledge that will later bring them money. It's like the relationship between a mother and her child. God can become a child. If you want to love him as your child, then in the spiritual world he becomes that for you, and you love him in that way. This mother-child relationship originally comes from the spiritual world. And the same goes for the relationship between lovers. These kinds of relationships also exist there. Since we're talking about family life today, let's look at how these relationships are built. God also has a beloved in the spiritual world. And it's fascinating to study how their love unfolds. They also go through meetings and separations. First they spend time together, then God arranges a separation. He misses his beloved and she misses him too. Then they meet again, and these two shores of love, meeting and separation, are natural because they make love stronger. When they meet again, they enjoy that moment deeply. And when they're apart, love grows even stronger from that distance. You've probably noticed people often grow cold toward each other. They live together without joy. Then one decides to leave. And suddenly the one who was left starts feeling love again, starts waiting for the other. That's what separation does. It reignites love. But in the spiritual world, no one waits until love fades. God arranged it so that love always grows, both through meeting and separation. So if love works like this, why not apply it in our own relationships? Let's say a husband and wife feel their bond weakening, getting used to each other. Then they need some space. It works well for me. I travel often for lectures, so my wife and I are always going through meetings and separations. That keeps our relationship fresh. We miss each other. We meet. Then we get on each other's nerves. I leave. It helps our love grow. But some people don't travel. They're always together. In that case, you need to create your own rhythm, coming closer, stepping back, two shores of love. Meeting and separation must be present because they exist in the spiritual world. People are sometimes closer to each other, and sometimes they can focus on themselves, or relatives, or friends. If you feel something's wrong in your relationship, go. Nobody is holding you. Spend time with friends or family. That takes time too. Connect with nature. Practice self-discipline. Go to the temple. When people live properly, these rhythms of meeting and separation happen naturally. But when people live wrongly, there's attachment. You can't let go. You nag and hurt each other, but still cling to each other. So the first step toward a healthy relationship is self-sufficiency, and that begins with healing practices. If someone goes out into nature, runs, walks, sits in water, fasts, this connection with nature revives the soul. When you truly love nature, go jogging, bathe in water, fast, do static practices. You develop the ability to feel joy just by being with yourself. This ability is crucial for family life because the two shores of love will always be there. If you stay only on the shore of meeting, love turns into conflict. You start devouring each other. But if you're always on the shore of separation, love cools down, you forget each other, and the family falls apart. If you're always together, fate also suffers. You cling to each other, tension builds up like a spring, and then, boom, you fly apart like ships at sea, never to meet again. Because they were too involved with each other, constantly in each other's space. You need both connection and separation. If you feel the relationship is cooling off, focus on something else, not on each other. Each person should have their own interests in family life. There should be both connection and separation. That's the first thing I want to explain. Because the word punishment actually comes from this idea. Real punishment in family life is kind. It means shifting your attention to relatives or friends and building a little distance from your partner. Because now's not the time to be close. Your relationship is getting strained, too casual, too disrespectful. How do you know when it's time for a little separation, when there's no respect left? When people build close relationships, they gradually begin to neglect each other, and when this neglect begins, it's time to create some distance. Otherwise, love just fades, but when there's distance, love flares up again. Meeting and separation. This is the real kind of punishment, or call it service or love. Whatever you call it, this dynamic is what actually works in family life. Other forms of punishment don't. If you served and cared for your partner and they got arrogant, then keep your distance. That's when it works. They start feeling something is missing and try to win you back. That's when it works. But if you never served them and only made them suffer, then they're glad to see you go. If you're away, they'll just feel relieved. That's why service is the foundation of this process. To meet means to serve each other. If you get tired of each other, create some distance. It's really important to understand, if a person can't be even somewhat self-sufficient, they'll always depend on others. They may depend on their kids, their partner, or even their parents. Sometimes a person is very dependent on their parents. A family can't thrive if, for example, a man still relies on his mother. The wife goes crazy because her husband depends on his mom. He's dependent, he can't stand on his own. He's always with his mother. I don't know, let's see what mom says. We'll live how mom says. The wife thinks, why do I need this? We have our own life. What does your mother have to do with it? I didn't marry her, I married you. Why is she always part of our life? He was dependent on his mom from the beginning. Now he's either still stuck on her or becomes dependent on his wife. If someone isn't self-sufficient, they can't be happy. It's impossible to live together like that. You need self-sufficiency, and it starts with healing practices. If a person performs them, they learn to find happiness within. They connect with nature. Yesterday we ran and sat in the water. I came back feeling happy inside. That's what happiness feels like. Self-sufficiency starts from there. But people forget. They don't realize nature brings inner joy. They have no clue. Living in cities, they forget nature and become dependent. A person becomes dependent because they don't know how to feel joy inside. That's something we must learn. A person should clothe themselves in happiness. Learn to be self-sufficient. Stop depending on others. Stop complaining that no one loves you. Just learn to be happy through your connection with nature. Fill yourself with it. Dress in the happiness that comes from nature, the energy of joy. Enjoy life. The next step, once you become self-sufficient and full of happiness, is to smile at others, feel joy, and serve. The next step is building relationships with others, with friends, starting with people on the street. Walk down the street and smile. Be happy that there is nature, that there are people. Try to feel joy in your relationship with the world around you. This is the second step. We're not even talking about family life yet. But if a person doesn't have this, they will never have a happy family life. Because if they don't know how to build proper relationships with the world, in family life there will only be constant clashes, arguments. There won't be any space for inner fulfillment. A closed system breaks down. You must fill yourself with nature, friendship, God, and prayer, and bring that into your family. That's the system. If someone constantly demands happiness from their partner and keeps invading their space, nothing good will come from it. So we start our topic, meeting and separation. This doesn't mean slamming the door and running off to your friends. I'm taking a break today. Get lost, you brute. No, it should happen naturally and with love. Sometimes we're together, sometimes we have other things to do. A person might go to nature for healing practice or attend classes at the Good People Club. Life should be like this. Separation can feel like a connection. You can invite friends over and serve them together. In that moment, even though you're not focused on each other, you're still happy. You're not really apart. You're just directing your attention to others. This can be done right in your own home, and it brings joy, because this kind of separation is healthy. And now, how to use love and punishment? Very simply, if you've practiced this already, say you had a fight, invite some friends over, you serve them together, and the resentment disappears. After the guests leave, you're no longer upset. You smile at each other because you've exchanged positive energy. When people become fixated only on each other, their energy runs out and they argue. But when there's energy exchange with others, it gets replenished and people stay peaceful. People argue because they lack energy. They try to draw it from each other, and that causes conflict. The woman seeks affection and tries to draw it from her husband. He resists. The man wants obedience from his wife. She resists, and arguments start. But when there's enough energy from nature, good friends, God, holiness, it purifies the family. It uplifts motives and increases love. If a husband and wife go to the temple and serve God, when they come home, they also serve each other. That brings lasting happiness, because life's foundation is pure, selfless service. Conscience is always active. You feel how your loved one suffers. You sense it deeply. When fate becomes heavy, you overcome it through prayer. You don't let it enter, because when it does, family ego grows, and so do arguments and conflict. The shore of separation, when you invite friends, comes naturally, and during this time you educate the person imperceptibly. The best education is when you don't do anything bad to the person. You simply shift your attention to others and your partner starts missing you. They begin to value your presence. That's the purpose of healthy correction, to learn to value each other. If we don't value each other, then we naturally need some healthy distance. This is important, and that's why it's prescribed in the scriptures. When we serve other people with love, we also serve our family, because we bring back to it the energy of happiness. Often people think that strictness means behaving rudely with a person, somehow insulting them, putting them in their place. There are even seminars about building personal boundaries. Now I'll build boundaries so no one can come near me. These personal boundaries are such nonsense. This topic of personal boundaries means don't come near me. It's like I'm a dog. Dogs mark their territory. They pee under trees to set their boundaries so no one comes too close. And if someone does come close, they start barking or attacking. You do the same. You've set up your boundaries at home, and God forbid someone crosses them. They get punished right away. This is nothing but animal instinct. There's no such thing as personal boundaries. What really exists is human dignity, and dignity is always expressed through service. If your loved one has stopped serving and starts trying to exploit you, step back, but that's not a boundary. That just means you can see their attitude is off. They're ruining the love between you, so you take a little distance. Taking distance doesn't mean slamming the door and saying, "Don't wait for me for lunch, I'm out, I'll eat at a restaurant." That's not what personal boundaries are about. And service is activated. If your loved one doesn't want to exchange energy with you, then do it with friends, with nature, with God. If sadness comes, well then, go for a walk. You have to let your loved one go. Give them the freedom to live their life. Where are you going? Sit with me. You know why they don't keep scorpions in jars? Because when one tries to crawl out, the others pull it back down. That's called envy. I don't go out, and I won't let you go either. When people think like that, when they try to control each other and not let go, what happens? The family starts to fall apart. Because people put too much pressure on each other. So what does strictness mean? It means taking a small step back. It might not even be noticeable. And then the person starts to miss you. That's what strictness is. It's not about putting people in their place. Some people think, I'll draw strict boundaries, put everyone in their place, and then I'll be happy in my personal life. They build those boundaries and become stiff and rigid. What kind of joy can you find with someone like that? Their whole life is about being strict. Don't come near me. There's no happiness, no love. But being strict doesn't mean making a rigid face and scolding your loved one. It means preserving your dignity. When relationships start to fall apart, people begin to humiliate each other, insulting, saying hurtful things, getting too familiar. That's when it's time to take some distance. Step back. Don't fight. Don't argue. Don't try to prove you're right or that you're good. It's pointless. Why do people argue? Because they demand happiness from each other. That's natural. For example, a baby is nursing and the milk runs out. What does he do? He bites, tries to get more. It hurts the mother. So what does she do? She pulls him away and doesn't let him bite. The baby cries, but there's no more milk. That's when they try to give him formula instead. It's a natural process when you give love, give and give, and then the other person starts wanting more, but you have no more to give, so you step back. You switch to nature, to good friends, to prayer. That's what strictness in relationships really means. But sometimes there's another side to it, and it's also kind. Let's say your loved one gets out of line, starts talking nonsense, then it's time for real strictness. Because in close relationships, you usually show kindness on the outside and keep strictness on the inside. Let's say you're kind on the outside, but inside you're watching, keeping track. If the person crosses the line, you take a step back. That step back means being self-sufficient. This balance should naturally regulate itself in the family. Sometimes we're together, sometimes we go out in nature, or visit friends, or go to a temple. If life flows like that, together, then apart, then separations and reunions happen naturally and gently. But if people are always together, especially now, when many work from home, husbands and wives are constantly around each other, and they get tired, there's no energy exchange. That builds tension, arguments, conflicts, too much time together. So this needs to be adjusted. Go for a jog, take a walk. Even if they're together, going out into nature helps. Just being around nature makes it easier. It's important to know this too. For example, I'm currently developing a methodology on how to build relationships with the help of nature. If you're constantly in conflict, holding grudges, feeling irritated with each other and can't even talk, then try having a conversation in a pool, a lake, or a river. Get in the water, sit for a while, let yourself calm down and absorb the water's energy, and then talk. You'll see the problems will be solved. Stay in the water while talking. I've tried it myself. It works really well. You start smiling, feel better, and the issues get resolved because you're in the water. You're filled with energy and able to talk. If there's no connection, no love, if the relationship feels cold, go for a run together. I've seen couples jogging side by side, talking while running, and their problems get resolved because the energy of willpower kicks in. When they start prolonged continuous movement, they can solve everything because strength comes from nature. Or if there are negative emotions, constant tension, try going out into the sun together, and the negativity will disappear. After 20 minutes in the sun, you'll start smiling and the issues will clear up. A person can even diagnose what they're missing and why there's a problem. Whether it's arguments, coldness, or negativity, you need to resolve it, and often just going out into nature and filling up with its energy is enough. But if the problem isn't about nature or energy, if it's just fatigue, tired of each other, sometimes even the home atmosphere becomes polluted. This is called family egoism. You come home and your mood instantly drops. Sometimes you visit someone's place and feel unwell, like something's off. Even the smell is unpleasant. And if you eat there, you feel sick. That's a polluted atmosphere. It's family egoism. In this case, invite friends over. When they come, they break through that egoism. They bring joy, act happily, and the atmosphere gets better. Family egoism disappears when people serve each other. When they are in the mood of service, family egoism disappears. That's why it's so important to maintain a positive atmosphere. If you've quarreled, pray. When people argue, negative energies build up. If that continues, the whole atmosphere turns bad. In your home, there should be prayer, worship, an altar, some form of spiritual practice. Without it, the atmosphere doesn't get cleansed. A woman may mop the floors and clean everything physically, but if the emotional energy isn't cleared, negative emotions build up, and that also makes life difficult. Sometimes people speak to each other a bit strictly, but it's not harsh, it's just a serious conversation. But this only works if there's deep trust, loyalty, and love means serving, being patient, and caring. So even strictness comes from love. It may begin at some point, but you have to wait, because in reality there should be a lot of service, care, and just a little strictness. When family life is just beginning, it's better to avoid any strictness. There should be more service, love, and care. You need to make your partner see a good person in you. Only after gratitude arises in the heart can you add a little strictness, but only to adjust the boundaries. A woman is a passionate being. She keeps expanding the space of her influence. She might want more things or more attention, or she may start over-teaching her husband, not giving him any space. A woman tends to expand her influence in personal life, and a man should set limits. Limits act as boundaries. He should say, don't go beyond this. This is not good. This isn't right. This is already too much. When there are limits, a man speaks firmly but kindly, with warmth in his heart, saying this is not the right way. If she doesn't listen, then distance. You simply stop engaging and try to show that life won't work this way. She sees it's not working and starts considering others' feelings. That's how it works. Or the wife cares for her husband and he feels grateful. The man increases his influence and the woman does too, just in different ways. Men try to influence more through ideas, guiding how to live, teaching their wife, but if it becomes too much, she should also keep her distance, so that he doesn't interfere too much in her life or control her too strongly. Women often get into correcting. He said it wrong, looked the wrong way, did something wrong. A man can also set limits if the relationship is kind from the beginning. If it starts with complaints, then strictness is not needed. What's needed is kindness, love, and care. It's important to understand strictness only works in a kind atmosphere. People often think, we're fine, we just have strict relationships. You don't have strict relationships, you have angry ones. When people keep fighting and defending their rights, that's an angry relationship. This is when people try to force their partner to serve them. These are angry, conflicted relationships, full of arguments and fights. That means strictness has taken over love, and love fades away, almost disappears. A question comes up right away, what to do in such a situation? We keep arguing, we never give in to each other, always fighting. What to do? It all comes from fear. A man thinks, if I give her more opportunities in life, she'll become even more disrespectful. But don't be afraid, it's not a big deal if your partner becomes a little too bold. Give your partner more freedom. Get used to their quirks. A man should speak gently and kindly with a woman. She can't live without it. If you don't do this, she'll turn to someone else, get it from others. A woman should try to respect her husband's opinion, agree more often so he feels like a man, that his words and views matter. You need to do this, otherwise your partner won't be happy. A man should speak softly and kindly to his wife. If she gets moody, he doesn't react, just lets her be. If the man starts a long speech, the woman sits quietly, doesn't argue, just nods. Each should allow the other to express their nature. Allow it little by little, but if your close one goes too far, for example, your husband starts lecturing you for 2 hours, then you need to gently create some distance. Say, all right, that's enough, that's all for today. Or if your wife wants too much attention and affection, you can also slow things down. These desires never end. They go on and on. Strictness should come from kindness, and kindness means service. If there's constant arguing in your family, it means you don't want to serve each other. It means you want to exploit each other, keep demanding. You have to start with yourself. Start yielding to your partner. It may sound silly. Why give in to a woman? She already eats sweets at night and still wants more. Should I give her more? Yes, give more. Let her learn to control herself. I was given blessed sweets. I brought them home. My wife ate too much of them. She came and said, I feel sick. I asked, what happened? She said, I ate too many sweets. I said, well, okay, these things happen. What can I do? She already overate, so what's the point of scolding her? What's done is done. I felt sorry for her. Later, when she felt better, I said, maybe you could try to control yourself a bit, eat a little less. She thought about it, agreed, and said, yes, it's better not to overeat. See, if I had said right away, I told you not to eat so many sweets, it would have only made things worse. She would have shouted back, thrown the sweets at me, taken offense. That's not the way. You need to give in. If your loved one made a mistake, just let it go. Accept them as they are. If your wife overslept and missed her morning jog, it's no big deal. If your husband is watching a movie he really likes and goes to bed late, fine, let him watch. Just be kind. Still, if your partner is heading in the wrong direction, wait for a good moment and gently say, this isn't right. Why watch that? You watched the movie, then couldn't wake up on time, and now you feel drained the whole day. He says, yes, you're right. I made a mistake. Even when you're correcting your partner, it must be based on service, on patience. Serving means being patient. Accept your partner's flaws. If you don't accept their flaws, if you're not used to them, if you don't treat them as something natural, like a woman having female flaws and a man having male ones. Female flaws are mostly emotional. Male flaws are based on willpower and control. A man can't relax, so he watches TV. Of course, there are limits. If he starts smoking just to relax, then you need to rethink your lifestyle. If he smokes, it means there's not enough physical activity. If he starts drinking, that's a serious sign. Maybe there's not enough water or static exercises in your daily routine. Or if he starts looking at other women, it means there's a lack of sun energy. He needs more time in the sun, needs to fast, and avoid eating too late in the evening. When someone overeats at night, the energy of the sun fades and lust takes over. And so on. You have to keep an eye on all this. Don't allow crossing the line. If a wife starts speaking sweetly to some man, it'll be obvious right away and you should stop it immediately. Explain kindly that this could destroy the family. This isn't okay. If it hasn't gone too far, she'll understand. If a husband starts smiling at other women, you can also rein him in, show a bit of strictness. These things should be taken seriously. If someone's completely going off track, strictness is needed. Later might be too late. But this strictness should always come from kindness. If there's exploitation in the family, it turns into constant conflict. You don't even want to come home. That means no one is willing to give in. You'll say, but how much should I give in? My wife has totally lost it. Sometimes women go through phases when they're constantly moody because they feel unwell. You need to think it over. Maybe take your wife out into nature more often. Maybe change your lifestyle or daily routine. If a woman sleeps in too long, she tends to get capricious. If a man stays up too late, he ends up sluggish, weak, unable to get anything done at home. You need to pay attention to how your loved ones live. But that doesn't mean you should jump on them like a dog the moment they do something wrong. You have to tolerate the issue for a while and then discuss it kindly. Real discipline isn't driven by emotion. Let's say your child brings home a bad grade. In that moment, emotions just take over. You want to say everything at once, but that's exactly when you should say nothing. Wait until you calm down, relax, maybe pray, and then sit down with your child and talk gently. Kindness is what makes discipline work. If you snapped at a loved one and they got hurt, go and apologize. You were wrong. That wasn't real strictness. It wasn't kind. Calm down, pray, collect yourself, and only then talk kindly about what happened. That's when they'll really understand. First, process the situation inside yourself. Take a breath, and then try to teach your loved one. Here's the rule with kids, friends, partners, anyone. Don't rush to teach them. That's today's main message. Don't rush to teach. Earn their gratitude, calm yourself down. Don't throw a tantrum just because something went wrong. Learn to accept their flaws. If your loved one drinks, accept it first, calm yourself, and then lead by example. If they lack water energy, you start going to the pool yourself. Later, you can tell them how great it is, and slowly they'll join you and start drinking less. Being strict doesn't mean always creating pressure. Of course, sometimes pressure is needed, like when a small child runs into the street, you have to grab them first, then explain later. If your son gets into drugs, pull him out of that environment. Turn in whoever's responsible, then explain everything to your son. If your wife gets involved with another man, go punch him and then talk to her. If she plans a trip with someone suspicious, cancel it, then explain gently. But without kindness, nothing will work, not even in extreme cases. Sometimes you might need to set boundaries, even live separately for a while. But again, without kindness, it won't work. You won't get through. That's why you have to take it all in and process it first. I once told a story about a good-hearted boa constrictor. He was a nice snake, but now and then he needed to swallow a few animals. One time, probably out of desperation, he made a bad choice. He swallowed a porcupine. Yes, a porcupine with quills. And as the porcupine started moving through his esophagus, one of the quills got stuck, caused pain. He tried to burp it out, and all the quills came out, and the snake died. This parable is about how we sometimes fail to digest the sins of our loved ones, but we have to. We live together, and the older we get, the more stuff comes out. When we're young, we're all sweet and nice, but as we age, we change. That's when we have to learn acceptance. As we age, we shouldn't just let go of our sins. We should also develop patience, and we must learn to digest our loved ones. Of course, it's hard to digest a porcupine. You should have thought before swallowing, before marrying someone. If you married a porcupine, chances are you won't be able to digest them. But if your loved one acts in a strange way, don't rush to scold them. First, take time to digest them. Calm yourself down so that your heart is at peace. Only then should you try to guide them. Of course, in extreme situations, there's no time for guidance. You may need to act fast, maybe even hit someone or put them behind bars. Then you can start educating. There are all kinds of situations, but in general, this is the strategy. You can't explain anything to a loved one if you do it with anger. It will only get worse. There will be fights, arguments, and eventually destruction. So first, calm down. Then, by creating a little distance, make them feel they're losing something valuable. Only then explain things kindly. Because if you explain while being emotional, the woman gets too emotional and the man becomes rude. Both destroy the relationship. It doesn't help. The person won't understand or respond. They won't be able to truly accept your words with their heart. Gratitude is the foundation of a strong relationship. If there's constant chaos in the home, it means the couple doesn't want to serve each other. They don't want to accept or digest one another. They're always irritated, always stressed. That kind of life won't bring happiness. We must learn to digest each other. The desire to serve and gratitude should be the foundation of relationships. Then there won't be any serious problems. Over time, everything will get better, even if your loved one behaves badly or your destiny is difficult. The key is to build your relationship on service and gratitude, not just on moments of joy or separation. One woman told me, "Dr. Torsunov, I created distance with my husband. We grew apart and eventually divorced. There was a coldness between us. We just didn't want to be together anymore." Who told you to create such a distance that you forgot how to be with each other? Or someone says, "My husband works on rotation. He leaves for 6 months at a time. We grow apart. Eventually he had an affair." Why keep a job that ruins the family? The husband goes abroad for a year. Just forget about him. He'll find someone else there. How can a man live without a woman for a whole year? Of course he'll find someone else. That's why you have to understand these things, these dynamics. Maybe you don't need that much money if it means your husband is never home and the wife is lonely. She gets tired of being bored. She's had enough of waiting. There was another story like this. A man decided to work on a ship to save money for an apartment. He managed to do it. But his wife got tired of waiting, then got disappointed. She took his money, bought an apartment for herself, and sent him away. She tricked him and took the money. So yes, he earned the apartment, but lost his family. That's why you always have to look at the situation carefully. Maybe working that hard isn't worth it. This is how a family falls apart. Let's discuss these questions a bit since I've touched on the topic. I think there will be many questions on this. It's a very practical topic we need to look at, not just theory, but also real-life situations. Are there any questions, Elena?
They're asking, how to determine the level of strictness. How strict should one be depending on the situation?
I've seen how trainers build close relationships with tigers. They wear thick coats, almost like protective vests. The tigers hug them, rub them, scratch the coat, but never reach the skin because it's all taken into account. So even hugging a tiger is fine. If you've prepared for it, that's what the right level of strictness means. You need to understand what you're doing with a person. Maybe your claws are 1 kilometer long, but you just want to scratch a little. Tigers have thick skin, they don't feel it, but with people there'll be pain, even scars. Figure out how much the person can handle. Talk to them, watch carefully. If a woman reacts strongly to any strictness, you must speak gently and kindly. That's what kind strictness is. If a man can't handle a woman's emotions, even a little, he gets shocked right away. Then you should explain everything calmly. First, calm down, then speak. Some people are patient. If someone has strong intelligence, they can endure. If a woman has strong intelligence, a man speaks strictly, she tolerates it, listens, nods her head. But when you behave strictly with a woman, you need to know that this is a very big healing practice for her. Even if she tolerates it, don't push her too far. It's always better to speak gently. No woman likes harshness. The same thing, if your husband tolerates your emotions, don't test fate. Maybe he's holding it in, and it could lead to a heart attack. He endured, and then died. That's why it's better for a woman not to speak too emotionally with a man. With a girlfriend, you can pour out your emotions. She'll understand, but your husband may not. Emotions can disturb his mind. So a man shouldn't press too hard with strictness, and a woman shouldn't press too hard with emotions. Strictness, how much is enough? If a person can't bear your strictness or emotions, be gentler. Let me repeat, the problem isn't about how strict you should be with your loved ones. That's how criminals think. They stab you and wonder, will he die or not? How deep should I go? Maybe a bit more, until the person dies, just keep pushing. Ah, he went limp, must be dying. That's criminal thinking. How much strictness can I inject into a loved one without overdoing it? That's the wrong question. Think about how to endure your loved one, how to accept and forgive them. Then it'll be easy to speak kindly. The key is kindness. You have to truly want to live with the person, not keep dreaming about someone better. When you're dreaming of someone better, you don't want to accept the person close to you. You're always dreaming that someone better will come along. You don't accept your loved one and don't want to help them grow, because why bother if you're going to have someone else anyway? It all starts with loyalty. You need to think, I will live with this person my whole life. When loyalty appears, that's when acceptance begins. After loyalty comes acceptance. You accept the person close to you, knowing that this is the person you'll live with. After acceptance comes kind guidance. But before that, there must be kindness. You have to learn to be kind. And for that, you need to pray a lot to God, because kindness is divine energy. Just as bees gather honey into hives, a person should gather kindness from all good people, so there's enough for their wife or husband. This is what you should be doing, not figuring out how much strictness you can dish out without killing them. That's the wrong mindset. The right mindset is to accept the person and cultivate kindness toward everyone, especially your loved ones. Set your mind on living with them, not leaving and waiting for someone better. When you're set on this path, you'll find a way to explain things to your loved one. It's not difficult when your mindset is right, but if you're thinking about how much pressure to apply without breaking them, that's the wrong mindset. That's how criminals and gangsters think. Like when people decide to beat someone and think, we need to beat them just enough so they don't die, otherwise we'll go to prison. That's a criminal mindset. The right mindset isn't about calculating how much strictness to apply so they survive. The right mindset is when you genuinely want the person to be happy. You want them to be happy, and you understand that with this quirk in their character or behavior, there can be no happiness. So you begin by creating distance, kindly. When they feel your absence, then you can talk to them gently. That's what strictness means, discussing serious topics. If they don't want to listen, create distance again and set conditions. The most dangerous thing in a relationship is when sins are committed and the whole concept of living together starts to change. For example, a man cheats on his wife and then says, why can't I look at other women or text or be friends? He's changing the rules of the game. When people sin, they change the rules. And when the rules change, it's war. Sin always gives rise to war. A woman should stand her ground, uphold her dignity, and not allow her husband to interact with other women, create distance, set conditions. If he refuses, divorce may become necessary, but in any case, fight for your family. Don't give in. Don't allow the rules to be changed. You came together based on certain spiritual values, and then, let's say, the wife starts texting other men. Don't allow it. Don't accept it. Do it kindly. If kindness doesn't work, turn on the strictness. Distance yourself more. When people live honestly, without sin, there is kindness on the outside and strictness on the inside. But as soon as they break divine principles, then it's strictness on the outside and kindness on the inside. Then you become like a rock, firm in your position, not giving an inch. You do your best to do what's right, staying kind on the inside but firm on the outside. When there are sins, cheating, stealing, drinking, or when a husband beats his wife, a strict external stance prevents these things from happening. Inside there must be kindness, not anger. Kindness should be either on the outside or inside. But if there's no kindness at all, then there'll be no proper education, no love. Because without kindness there can be no love, my dear friends. Love must always be present. If there is love, you'll know how strict to be, just like a surgeon knows how much pressure to apply with a scalpel so as not to harm. A surgeon will try to be careful. Kindness is the foundation, and strict actions, like a surgery, come later. Now let's move on to questions.
Riga is getting ready, Katie. Rima asks, is it right that I've distanced myself from my husband? He drinks often, swears at me, is rude and rough with the children. He works a lot but doesn't know how to relax. I've been living in a separate room for over a year, but he only gets angrier. I try to be kinder to him and even feel sorry for him sometimes. But I'm not sure if I've chosen the right distance. His rudeness and insults still hurt me, though my heart feels calm.
You need to choose a distance that allows you to live in peace, but at the same time you must serve your loved one and set an example. Distance alone is not enough. You could spend your whole life at a distance. On one hand, choose a distance where there are no fights and it's possible to live together comfortably. If a person is drinking and sinning, then of course a comfortable distance is needed. It's impossible to build a close relationship with a drunk person. You'll just burn out. At the same time, you need to swim regularly, start doing static exercises and let him see that. Show him by example. And also, besides strictness, you also need to serve. If you don't care for your loved one, then why would he even need you? If there is distance on one side, care on the other, and personal example on the third, then things begin to improve. You can fix things with care, strictness, and your own example. Pray for the person. You can overcome 3 layers of fate through prayer. First, you pray for peace in your heart regarding your loved one. Then you gain influence, he starts listening, and then change begins. All of this happens through prayer. The second way to help someone change is through healing practices. You start sitting in water, you gain a good habit, you enjoy it, you tell him about it, and he starts feeling it too. Then he wants to try it himself, then he starts sitting in water too and eventually stops drinking, because alcoholism is a lack of water energy. You start doing static exercises, get a positive habit, and share how much better your life has become. He slowly starts to feel it and begins doing it himself, then the drinking goes away. To overcome alcoholism, one needs to sit in water and do static exercises. But if you don't do that, if you don't care for the person and just keep your distance, what's the point? If he has no reason to be closer to you, if you're not helping or doing anything for him, why should he come closer? You need to act with love, care with love, so that he feels it. But he can't get close to you, and that creates desire, and desire activates the mind. He starts thinking, why is my loved one so distant? She's such a good wife, we have such good children. Why are they far from me? Maybe I need to change something in myself. Maybe it's because I drink too much. How can I stop drinking? For this, you need to sit in water, do static exercises, because if a person is not filled with water energy, they cannot overcome alcoholism. Because people drink when they are filled with inner tension. That tension is called despair. Despair grows inside. Let's say the job is stressful, there's constant arguing, and when he comes home, he feels tight inside. His mind is overloaded. He has spent all his water energy at work. He needs to recharge, but he doesn't know how. That's why he drinks. Alcoholism doesn't mean someone is a bad person. It just means he doesn't know how to release emotional tension, like irritation, despair, or anger. So teach him a healthy lifestyle, not just detachment. Yes, detachment is good because when a person steps back, they protect themselves. And when they protect themselves, they're able to love. When people live too close emotionally, they start getting irritated and anxious. They drain themselves instead of preserving themselves, and then love fades because there's no energy left. But if people keep the right distance and still serve and support each other, then love only grows stronger. And everything starts to improve. Love brings healing and transforms people. And if someone is drinking, prayer is also needed. Next question.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov.
Hello.
I have a question. My husband and I are currently living apart. I pray and do spiritual practices. If he wants to come back, what conditions should I set?
I don't know what he did wrong. Why are you living separately?
When the military operation started, he became very anxious. We decided he would go to Thailand for a while. He has a friend there.
Let's start with where you live now, geographically.
I used to live with him in the Krasnodar region.
What's there to worry about? No missiles are flying there. I live in the Krasnodar region too. Only 2 missile strikes happened, that's all.
He was afraid of being drafted.
Ah, that's the real reason. I see. He was under stress, and that stress affected the relationship, right? You couldn't handle his nervousness. He was anxious, irritable.
No, actually, we decided together that it would be better for him to go away for a while to calm down. He even enrolled in an English school there. He was gone for 6 months. We planned for him to be there for a year, but he returned early. During that time, I supported him. He worked online. I also worked and helped with his clients. When he came back, he started getting nervous about how much money he had spent. He sold his car, then bought one he didn't like, sold that, and then bought another one on credit. Then he started pushing me to go out and work.
Do you have any children?
Yes, one child, he's 9 years old. I was helping him with work. I didn't want to go out and work, but he tricked me a bit. I wanted a second child, and he said, "Go to work for a while, then go on maternity leave." I went, but I started getting really tired, and we began to argue. He didn't let me quit. I used to have a good relationship with his mother, but after I started working, he began complaining about me.
All right, dear, this is a lecture. We can't listen to your whole life story. I get the picture. You don't know how to guide your husband. He started behaving worse, setting unreasonable demands. At the same time, he lacks water energy, so he's not able to handle stress. He first got stressed about the war, then the loan, then the car. There's no healthy lifestyle, so he becomes very emotionally unstable.
They took him to Tayuman.
All right, you also lack water energy. You are under stress too. You need to sit in water, do static exercises, and first bring yourself back into balance. You're stressed. First, you need to calm down and regain your balance. Once you're calm, you need to understand whether he still needs you or not. Start talking to him kindly, try to handle the emotional pressure, accept the person, and treat him with kindness. If you can't do that, he will keep being rude and disrespectful. That means the situation is beyond repair. But if you can treat him kindly, then try to reach an agreement. Explain to him how to change the lifestyle. Help him understand how to see things in a better way. If he's open to compromise, then the family can be restored. If he doesn't care and just keeps shouting, then you'll have to part ways. Take care of yourself first, because right now you're also unable to interact properly. You're deeply hurt. You need prayer, static exercises, and water. Get out of stress, calm down, regain yourself, then try kindly to understand how to deal with him so he calms down and accepts his fate. Sometimes you need to give in, other times stand your ground and learn to guide with kindness. You also have a sensitive mind. You either stay silent and agree with him or get hysterical. That's not how relationships are built. You need to accept your loved one's nature. That requires inner strength. You need to do static exercises and pray. This will help you develop patience, communicate kindly, interact better, and gently awaken his awareness. If all this becomes impossible, and whether it's possible or not depends on the direction the person is moving, towards you or away from you. If he's moving away from you, then nothing can be done. But if he's moving towards you, then change is possible, step by step. Ask yourself, is there any movement towards each other? You say you're making an effort, but what kind of effort? First, you need to pull yourself together. Love always begins when a person returns to themselves. Without energy, there's no love. Sit in water, do static exercises, keep moving for a long time, restore yourself, pray. Once you've regained yourself, knock gently, make compromises, give in where needed, accept his conditions. Yes, I will do my part. I'll work better, this and that. Then also tell him, you know, dear, you need to learn how to rest and relieve your stress. You see, I go to the pool, I do static exercises, I do dynamic ones. It's helped me a lot. I've pulled myself together, come out of the stress. You should do the same. He says, all right, I feel like I need to. He also wants to change, to take action. That's a step toward each other. But if he says, forget it, I don't need anything, it's your fault, not mine, then we keep praying and maintain distance. As soon as there's some movement toward each other, and you accept him kindly, talk to him kindly, and he gives feedback, says, okay, I get it, this was wrong, and that was wrong, let's change it. Then gradually everything will work out. You just don't need to change everything all at once. You need to move forward little by little. That's how the process goes. Look at what happened. A rough period began. Your husband's water energy started to deplete. He got nervous and began to have strong emotional outbursts. You didn't know what to do. You should have been spending time in water doing static exercises, but you didn't have that knowledge, so the tantrum started, the irritation built up. Then out of dissatisfaction, he started taking out loans, buying cars. In other words, he lost mental balance. You couldn't cope with it and went along with him. Eventually, you couldn't take it anymore and started breaking down too. He ended up kicking you out. You couldn't live together anymore because the emotional instability kept growing. Now the sequence is, first, a healthy lifestyle, friends, prayers, regain your strength and come back to yourself. Once you have strength, start interacting with him kindly. Pay attention to what he needs. If he's moving toward you, that means he wants to save the family. It means he won't just expect you to yield, he'll yield too. Start with yourself and even agree to things you don't like. For example, he may want you to work. You agree, okay, but I need to work just enough so that I still have energy for the family. I still need to cook after all. Explain it to him so he'll let you work less. That's roughly the scheme. Most importantly, don't think everything's lost, that everything's bad. If the person is alive and you still have a family, it can all be restored. Just don't rush it. You need to accept the person. First recover, then accept him. Digest everything, speak kindly, give in, and wait for his response. But if nothing changes, if he doesn't care, doesn't want to change, just wants you to change, then keep your distance, pray, and set a time limit. If the time passes and nothing has changed, then it's time for a divorce.
Thank you very much. Thank God there is a good people club in my city. We do all this.
Yes, focus on recovery. You're very overheated. You're seriously lacking in water energy.
Thank you.
Next question.
There are many questions about parents, upbringing, service. How do you balance serving your parents with your own interests? If I don't do anything for them, the relationship is fine. But as soon as I start serving them, they demand more and more attention. Several people mention this.
First, let's separate two things. First is what parents actually need versus what we often give them. What they truly need is agreement. They say, you're a fool, and you should agree. They're older, they know better whether you're a fool or not. When they say something like that, always respond, yes, Mom, I agree. They have certain expectations of you. They see you in a certain way. Just agree with them and they'll feel at peace. Fulfilling their request depends on your life circumstances and necessity. For example, your mom says, divorce your husband, he's no good. You can say, yes, Mom, we're having some issues, thank you for caring, but don't actually get divorced. If she asks, why aren't you getting divorced? Just say, I can't, he's my husband. If you respect your parents, they give you the space not to follow their advice. You need to separate these two things. If you don't respect them, they'll constantly throw tantrums, demand things, suffer, and get angry. But if you do respect them yet can't follow their advice, maybe it's unwise or even sinful, or maybe you simply don't have the strength right now. You understand they may be right, but you lack the inner resources. If you still give them the respect they deserve, they usually won't insist too much. They'll usually be tolerant, but some parents are so ignorant that it doesn't matter if you respect them or not. They'll still shout and get angry. In such cases, you need distance and prayer. Basically, there are three scenarios. First, you treat them kindly and agree with everything. You gradually fulfill their demands, and they become happy and calm down. Second, you treat them kindly but can't fulfill their demands. Maybe they want you to get divorced or ask for something sinful, so you don't follow their wishes, but you still treat them kindly. In that case, they calm down a little, but not completely. They might keep scolding you. You've always been disobedient. No use talking to you. Still, it's okay, as long as you respect them. Third option, once you start respecting them, they stop asking for anything at all. You begin showing respect and they stop bothering you. They just say, "Live how you want, dear. Thank you for respecting us." And in all three cases, you should always try to help them, give little gifts, show care. Care doesn't wear out your nerves. If you do something for them, they'll only be grateful. If they don't want your care, don't force it. Care and respect are always good, the rest will follow. If your parents want something from you that you can't do, it's not a matter of principle. The only principle is respect. But sometimes parents can be hostile. You respect them, yet they still act pushy, demanding you obey their every wish. But you're an adult now, with your own life, so you need to create some distance, avoid talking in person, switch to texting them. Stay kind, wish them well, ignore their harsh words or insults, try to remain kind, and if even that doesn't work, take a break, but don't let your heart turn bitter. In time, things will settle down. Sometimes parents need a healthy lifestyle to help them recover. As people get older, they often feel they're running out of energy. So you need to set an example. Tell them how you live and how your life is improving. I know cases where parents start following their children's advice. My mom always listens to my advice. She follows it, tries to live the right way, and that's why she keeps going, even at her age. So build the right kind of relationship, respect your parents, and they'll always be grateful.
Thank you very much. Irene asks, how can I change the boundaries of service? How can I understand what is my responsibility and what is beyond my strength, which I don't have to do? My husband expects too much from me.
Everyone can feel how much strength they have. Like lifting weights, you can lift some but not others. Or you're cleaning the floor and you feel, I can't go on, I'm tired. People usually understand the limits of their strength. We should never overstrain ourselves. Putting in effort is good. If a person never makes effort, they become weak. Effort is good, but overexertion's harmful. Always watch your level of tension. If you're not tense and doing something, it's fine. But most of the time, that's not the real problem. The problem is usually abuse. If a husband strictly demands something, a woman doesn't like it because she doesn't like to be forced. You need to explain to your husband to ask kindly. If he asks harshly, a woman feels tense and doesn't want to do it, and even if she does, she gets very tired. When something is done through force, fatigue comes quicker. If a person is inspired, they can do more and not get tired, but through pressure, they get tired fast. So you need to understand the situation. If the atmosphere at home is good, but there's just too much work, then watch yourself carefully. Maybe you can hire a helper to do part of the work. Usually, if there's a lot of work, there's also good money. This often goes together. But if there's a lot of work and little money, then postpone things. Spread them out. Try not to exhaust yourself. You must include healing practices like swimming, walking, or holding static poses. When you do such practices, your energy grows and you can manage more. But if the atmosphere at home is wrong, people burn out and lose enthusiasm. Then you can't do much at all. No enthusiasm means no progress, so keep an eye on that. If the relationship is rough, the husband demands and scolds, then calmly explain things to him. Try to neutralize harshness with patience and kindness. If that doesn't help, keep your distance. Set clear boundaries. If it still doesn't work, live separately but explain kindly. If he improves, you can move back in. Try to solve the situation constructively. Don't humiliate yourself, don't burn yourself out, and also don't take a harsh stand like refusing to do anything at all. Ask him not to scold or pressure you. Let him inspire you instead. Learn this together. Explain that this is the right way. And manage things so that you still have energy left for healing practices. If you work till you drop and can't even take a bath or do static poses, it will only get worse. When life goes into a downward spiral, things only get worse. No energy means no life. I don't think there's a problem in understanding whether you're tired or not. If I get tired, I make sure to rest. Either take a break, do some practice, or just lie down. Sometimes I just lie down to rest. Sometimes I get tired during the day. I just lie down for 5-10 minutes and then I'm full of energy again, ready to get back to work. Fatigue is normal. If you're tired, you need to rest. It's natural. Next question.
Catherine asks, love is patient and kind, says the Bible. But how long should you be patient, and how do you show kindness? If you start correcting someone over small things, it turns into pressure. And if you're patient for too long, people start taking advantage of you. Many people struggle with finding that golden middle.
Yes, because the real issue lies in how we interact, not in patience itself. The problem is that people either silently endure or start yelling. If you can't stand it, you explode and try to force the person. If you keep enduring it, you end up humiliating yourself. And why? Because you're afraid of conflict. Then you start yelling. Why? Because you can't stand it anymore. That's the problem. People are not in the mood to cooperate, not in the mood to be kind. But if you're in a kind state, it's easy to say what you want. You can say anything, it's not difficult at all, and the other person will take it normally if you speak with kindness. So the question is not how much to correct, but how much to endure. There's only one question. Do you have enough kindness inside to speak to a close person without irritating them? If yes, then you can speak. The problem is not in speaking, the problem is a lack of kindness. You're afraid to speak because of possible conflict, so you keep silent until the end, and then you shout. That's the problem everyone has. If you can speak kindly, what is there to fear? You say it and it's done. No problem. If they don't accept your words, it means the time hasn't come yet. Kindness means you don't force anything. You just speak simply, let the words go, as if they disappeared. But the person still hears you if you speak kindly and without pressure. They still hear. Sooner or later, they will start thinking about it, then acting. It goes in stages. First they hear, then they think, then they act. It needs to go step by step. It happens gradually. But the issue isn't how much to say so the person doesn't feel stressed. The issue is that you can't speak to them either because you fear conflict or because you lack kindness. That's the real problem. If you have kindness in your heart, you can say anything to anyone. They won't react badly because you're saying it kindly. I know a case where a boss decided to fire all his employees. His company paid very high salaries, so it was easy to hire a new team quickly. But one woman came to speak with him. She had a kind attitude toward him. In just half an hour, he changed his mind, decided to keep everyone, but set a condition for work. She saved everyone's job in just half an hour, but she didn't just give him promises or say what he wanted to hear. She also gently pointed out his mistakes. She began a dialogue with him, and as a result, he accepted her words, stopped being angry, and let everyone keep their jobs. Kindness can even do such things. If a person is diplomatic and speaks with kindness, they can even prevent war and save many lives. Thanks to kindness, diplomats speak kindly, they can even build relations with an enemy. As a result, people stop dying. Kindness has such power. It helps build relationships even between countries, not to mention within a family. That's why kindness is a great power that comes from God. When there is kindness, you can always sense what to say, how much, and to whom, so your words don't become overwhelming. Last question.
The last question is from Dmitry from St. Petersburg. Could you please explain in more detail how to properly create distance in a relationship when things are difficult with your wife? The wife is too strict. It's mutual distancing. Both husband and wife start pulling away without saying anything. They listen to Dr. Torsunov together.
Let me put it this way. Today's lecture was more about love, how it works, and the different types of closeness. Tomorrow we'll talk about distancing and strictness. That will be tomorrow because you've asked for a big topic and we've only got 30 seconds left. So come to the lecture tomorrow and we'll talk about strictness, how strict to be and how to maintain distance. We'll work out a strategy for relationships with loved ones, and this strategy has some key settings. And those settings start with this. First, you have to become self-sufficient. Then you must understand when to come closer and when to step back depending on what's going on. If things are heating up, take some space, cool things down. If it calms down, get closer. Always try to serve the people around you so that family egoism doesn't grow. Try to pray at home. It purifies life and increases your desire to serve rather than to demand. If someone follows these principles, the foundations of life, then there won't be big problems with raising children. Problems with parenting begin when there's no strength. People argue constantly, there's not enough energy. When family egoism grows, everyone wants attention and they fight because of it. When there's no service to God, no prayer, bad karma takes over. People fight because of war, COVID, unemployment. Bad fate torments them. That's why we must first organize our way of life properly. Then closeness and distance should become a constant rhythm. After that comes kindness, acceptance of your loved one's character, and only then, strictness. But if you put strictness first, the moment something goes wrong, you react strictly, then nothing will work. You have to learn how to live properly first, then comes strictness. First comes acceptance of your loved one's character, only then strictness. If you put strictness first, it won't work. You need to learn how to live the right way first. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.